My name is Dipesh Patel, editor at Trade Finance Global. In recent years, the need for financial institutions to digitalize has been growing increasingly urgent. Nowhere is this more clear than in trade. It seems that everyone in the industry is in concurrence that trade documents should be moved to digital platforms, but it's hard to find the activation energy to take the plunge. The partnership between Lloyds Bank and ClearEye is an encouraging step in the direction towards a full digital transformation in trade. To quote Plato, each man is capable of doing one thing well. With this in mind, innovation, which drives the world forward, is best found in collaboration. So, Roger, Maria, welcome to Trade Finance Talks. So, to start off with, quick introductions. Who are you, where are you from, and what do you do? Maria, I'll start with you.
Maria George, I'm the CEO and co-founder of ClearEye, and I'm based in New York.
I'm Roger, I'm the product head for trading working capital based in the UK for Lloyds Bank.
So, Roger, let's start at the very beginning, the ABCs of digital trade and automation. Can you perhaps outline some of the benefits that digital trade brings to us and why it's important to your clients?
Yeah, for sure, Dipesh. Quite happy to talk to that. At Lloyds Bank, we've been really focused on the digitalization of documentary trade over the last couple of years, specifically enabled by the Electronic Trade Documents Act that we saw come into force in the UK in 2023. That act simply allows Lloyds and all other players in the trade finance industry to treat a digital asset of a trade document in the same way as a paper trade document. And that's really allowed us to issue digital documents rather than paper-based documents and take a lot of waste and inefficiency out of the system. So that's really step one for us. And what we're now focused on is, as these transaction and these digital assets, or sometimes still paper-based documents, come to us and they pass through our operations department, we want to make sure that we can process these in the most efficient way possible and give our clients the best experience at the same time. And that's really what our partnership with Maria and the ClearEye team is focused on.
Sounds pretty simple: increase efficiency, decrease waste, but I'm sure there are gaps, hence Maria and ClearEye's partnership. Maria, can you give an overview of some of the gaps that persist in the application of digital trade and automation to trade finance?
Absolutely. I wish it was that simple. But having said that, right, there are two things that we should absolutely keep in mind when we talk about gaps. And the first track that we focus on, and what we are doing with Lloyds also, is on the trade finance back office operations. What I mean by that is today's back office operations, there are a lot of challenges, like, for example, the regulatory changes, old technology, an unavailability of a talented workforce, or those are all challenges today's back office operations are facing. So automating the trade back office operations and compliance is a critical aspect. And that's what ClearEye is first focused on doing with Lloyds. When we have this automation in place, when we convert some of these paper documents, all this unstructured data into a very structured format, the possibilities are much higher. So that's a gap that we are immediately focused on. The second item that we focus on is from a standards perspective. So what I mean by standards is there are two types of standards: the process standards from a process point of view, and standards from a technology point of view. So to fix those gaps on the process side, ICC has come up with a lot of standards, like you're talking about the EUCP, EURC, for example. That's an area that we are working on. ClearTrade is today compatible with the EUCP standards, for example. And then the technology side, it's an even bigger challenge because we are talking about standardizing what are the common data elements. Again, there's a lot of guidance from ICC on that. But doing the common data elements and allowing banks, corporates, logistics providers to communicate better, which will lay the foundation for an interoperable trade ecosystem eventually, is another big gap that we will address eventually, and we're not there yet. We're working towards that.
Thank you, Maria. So trade finance automation, really focusing on aligning with those industry standards and also increasing the ability for players within the trade industry to communicate. They're the three kind of propositions. Rog, what caught your attention to ClearEye? Can you perhaps give a brief overview of the RFP process that you underwent?
Yeah, of course, Deepesh, more than happy to. I mean, again, sort of investing in our trade and working capital proposition at Lloyds Bank is really important, and we see that as one of the core pillars of our wider strategy at the bank to support trading businesses in the UK and outside the UK, and also to support trade with the UK from a macroeconomic perspective. As I said a little bit earlier, to date, we've really been focused around digitizing our documentary trade business to date, as well as investing in our open account capability. More recently, our focus has really shifted to we have to make sure that we make our operations department and processes fit for purpose into the future as well, and continue to deliver a really top-notch service to our clients. So with that in mind, we've undertaken a comprehensive review of the different providers who could support us with automating our doc examination processes, whilst also enabling an automation of fraud, financial crime, TBML type process that is undertaken for the same transactions. So the team started off with a very comprehensive desktop review. I think we looked at 18 companies to be exact. We quickly reduced that down to 3 companies to really sort of take through a much more detailed process where we looked at capability current and future as well. We commissioned an RFP process, but we also ran a proof of concept. So what the team at Lloyds did, the product innovation and the operations team, is we used a number of existing files for transactions that we had already executed, and we use those to test on the different technologies provided to us from the 3 different companies that were in the process at the time, to really compare and contrast what the technologies would, how the technology would work for us and what the results are that they would bring to us. So those 2 pieces for us were really important. And the last piece I'd say is also us spending a lot of time with ClearEye and of course the other parties we looked at the time as well, to make sure there was a good cultural fit, but also making sure that we are aligned on future roadmap, build out, innovation, investment, etc.
Trade techs, take notice of that. I wanted to do a bit more of a deep dive, and perhaps I can talk about 2 of those pieces. So yeah. Document examination and TBML. Maria, perhaps if you can start, can you just give a bit of an overview of that document examination piece and how ClearEye is working with Lloyds Bank?
To talk about doc examination piece, we should start talking about digitization. And I say that because for doc examination to automation to work, it starts with ingesting the paper documents. Usually it's in a PDF file or a scanned image. You get the LC and all the documents together. It's uploaded into the system. That's where the digitization really starts, right? And I always say, when you say digital, it's not paper versus a PDF. It's actually converting it to a structured format. So the step 1 for us is converting all that paper files into classifying all the documents. You get a 50-page PDF file. You should know what is the first page, if it's an original or a copy, if it's an invoice or a bill of lading. So do that, and then immediately after that, extract the data correctly. And when I say extract the data, we always say the context matters. So are you extracting the name? Is it a customer name or a ship name? Correctly extracting the data, that's step 1, and that's a digitization process. Once you have the data extracted, it goes into the doc examination piece, where we compare, we look at the LC, we look at the respective documents submitted, compare if the documents are following all the standards as mentioned in the letter of credit. It looks for goods in the 45 section of LC. It looks for terms and conditions in the LC. So cross-checking the LC against all the documents supported is one of the steps. We also check against all the ICC rules, the UCP, the URC rules, and that process is fully automated. So we can look for potential discrepancies in a specific trade transaction. It's it's all about making the job of the operations person easier. So you don't have to manually go through every single page, and it's highlighting, hey, there's an issue here, look at that. So end of the day, we talked about efficiencies. Can we significantly bring down the total turnaround time for processing a transaction is the objective.
Sounds too good to be true. So extracting the data, cross-checking it, and examining it and running it against some of the existing trade-based rules. I guess trade-based money laundering, unfortunately, is a big problem in our industry, as well as counter-terrorist financing, etc. Rod, can you talk through how ClearEye and Lloyds Bank are working together on the TBML side?
Yeah, of course, Deepesh, happy to. And I think, just to build on what you just heard from Maria as well, and as mentioned at the start already, regardless of how the transaction comes to us, regardless of whether we use digital assets or old-fashioned paper-based documents, if you like, these documents, digital versions thereof or paper-based versions of us, are currently examined by real people in our trade operations department. Right, so it's that specific part of the process that we're looking to improve, automate, and create a better client experience around. And so you've heard from Maria there sort of explain to you what that document examination part of the process looks like. The natural next step for that is the trade-based money laundering and other related checks that take place as well. And that's sort of the next step that we're working on with Maria and ClearEye and the team there, is making sure that as we now have access to this data in a structured format, as you've just heard from Maria, making sure that we align that to our TBML and other related processes that we have in the bank, sanctions filters, etc., and align the two with each other should help us to also automate and improve efficiencies to that part of the process for every single transaction that comes through the operation.
Thank you very much, Roger. And you'll remember from Cybos in Toronto, we sat on the collaboration.
We did indeed,
couch.
yeah.
And I do like to hold you accountable for collaboration. What strategies have you adopted to ensure this partnership is going to be a success? So when we're in Cybos in Frankfurt next year, you can say we stood by those.
Yeah, no, good call, for sure. Happy to. I think, for us really, it's making sure that we choose a partner first that we are, of course, proud to work with, but who is on the same wavelength as Lloyds in terms of where we're thinking, what we're thinking about in terms of digital trade and delivering the best service to client. And I think I'm very happy that we found that with Maria and the ClearEye team. The second thing I'd say is, the capabilities that ClearEye brings today, we're very, very pleased with, hence we've gone into a partnership with ClearEye, but there's also a really clear commitment to continuous investment and development of capabilities, and I'm sure you'll hear from Maria about that a bit more shortly. The third thing I'd say is, we also hold each other to account on a really clear strategic plans with specific milestones that we review, track, and take action if either party is behind. So it's great that we get on with each other really well. It's even better that we have a really good relationship, but clearly the delivery of actual milestones and therefore improving the service to our clients and enabling that process efficiency is really important. And that's what we're really, really focused on here.
Accountability, KPIs and milestones. Look, I've been reporting on trade tech for quite a while now, and let's not beat around the bush. There are some problems that the trade tech industry, fintechs within the trade space have had or been challenged with, particularly over the past couple of years. Maria, are there any problems that you would anticipate, running ClearEye, looking at the partnership, looking at some of the wider partnerships with the banks? What contingencies and solutions do you have in place to mitigate these risks to ensure the future of both digital trade and also ClearEye?
I wish I can say there are none, but that's not the fact. I can think of two things. The first is trade is not an easy business to do. It's a low margin business, and the expectations from the FIs are they're very high bar. And if it was an easy one, I think this problem would have been solved many times before. To your point, Dipesh, we've seen many companies trying to do this. Some of them have been very successful. And the reason I say all this is because it really is about when you introduce a new product, change management is a big aspect of it. How do you convince the team who's going to use a brand new product to say, you have to change the way you've been doing things for the last 20 years, and you have to adopt a new product, and this is how you're going to do it. It happens everywhere, but in the trade space, because of the way things have been done in trade, it's a bigger problem. So that's one of the things that we always anticipate, and we have put mechanisms in place, including, we call it, we have training sessions, we sit with the users ahead of before they start using the product, so they are familiar with the tool before they really go live using the system. It's a big deal. It sounds like a simple thing, but without that, that's from our experience, with banks using the product. That's one. And the second challenge, it's a good thing, but it's also a challenge, is because technology is evolving so fast. There's a lot of use cases about Gen AI, LLMs, large language models in place. And every bank is exploring this, but how can you fine-tune that one use case that is really relevant for a bank? And how do you make sure that FIs are okay with their risk governance process to accept that? So that's something we are very cognizant about, and we are constantly thinking about.
Yeah, and that hasn't been easy for us, that last piece of the puzzle, to be honest. As you can imagine, Dipesh, not specific to ClearEye at all, really, but at the bank we have very stringent due diligence processes, supplier onboarding processes, screening of new partners, vendors, etc. that I'm sorry to say we've had to put Maria and the ClearEye team through. But for us it's really important as well, because clearly the team at the bank are very mindful about, well, who do we partner with, and are we bringing the right people on board, and can we trust them to support us on some of these critical processes for our clients. So whilst those processes aren't easy for us to work through internally from a due diligence and governance and onboarding perspective, there's certainly the right processes to create that confidence and trust internally as well as externally.
Sounds good. You mentioned the evolution of trade and trade documents, and we can see that there have been a lot of industry initiatives. For example, the publication of the ICC DSI's key trade documents and data elements report, the roadmap, etc. How does the ClearEye solution align with some of these harmonized interoperable standards?
ICC DSI roadmap has a vision to have a common trade environment, digital trade environment by 2026. We have been following that very closely, and there are three aspects where ClearTrade is focused on. One is on the digital standards itself. I briefly talked about it, where the UCP, URC rules. So as I mentioned, we are compliant with that. We are constantly looking out for those. The second aspect is the integration with e-docs, for example. And in this case, I know Lloyds have been open about it. They've been working with a firm, an EGO, and we are working together to further explore how can we, the three firms, collaborate together and take the next step forward. That's work in progress for us. And the third one is sustainable trade. So with all the ESG standards that have put in place, again, ICC published the guidelines last year, I believe. So we are looking at it and coming together with an ESG score for a trade transaction. That's also in the works, and that's something that we've been working with Roger and team as well. So these are the three things, and we're keeping an eye on the key trade documents and data elements project. That's very interesting to see if we can complete the mapping and get things moving on that too.
Roger, final question. What developments are you currently monitoring in the trade digitalization space? Lloyds Bank are clearly very active about, but what are you personally excited about in the next few years?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Dipesh. I think, fair to say that the partnership with ClearEye is the next exciting step for us on our digital trade journey, but lots more to go for thereafter. One thing personally that really excites me is you've heard Maria talk a little bit already about, structured data and having data set in the right format. And I think, the potential value and insight that we can create from that structured data fascinates me, and I think it's something that we can use to bring better quality insight to our clients as well. And if I think about what at Lloyds Bank our cash management payments team have done through a tool called Lloyds Bank Market Intelligence, is absolutely fascinating. Fun fact for you, Lloyds Bank is the second largest custodian of data in the UK after the NHS. 1 in 3 payments in the UK flows through Lloyds Banking Group. So you can imagine the data attached to all of those payments that come in and out of the UK and get cleared domestically within the UK create a huge amount of insight in terms of consumer spending behaviours, business spending behaviours, etc. And I can see the real value that data and insight brings to our clients today. If we were only able to bring in the structured trade data on top of that, I think that'd be fascinating, and that's a real way to put big data to work for our clients.
Thank you very much. That was Rogier van Lamaren at Lloyds Bank and Maria George at ClearEye talking to us at this Cybos 2024 video series.